Hello everyone, my name's Kaz and welcome back to my channel. Now today I wanted to put together a quick video to kind of give you a summary of things that I've been doing to prepare for Classic WoW above and beyond what we talked about in the original video. Now real quick we'll just do a recap TLDR here of what we talked about the first time round, and then we'll kind of go from there on things you can be doing and developments that have taken place since then. So we talked about in the first one, just getting your system set up. That's obviously still pertinent, making sure everything's installed, ready to go. We also talked about picking a race and a class, taking a look at that and making sure that you've dialed in what it is you want to play, whether it be Horde or Alliance, Mage, Warlock, Shaman, Paladin, kind of getting a feel for what it is that you want to do. And I still highly recommend that you put the time in and kind of figure out where you want to go in regards to that. The next thing we talked about is picking a server, and that's where things get a little bit more interesting, because as of the first recording, the names had been announced, but no one had had a chance to actually get their names or reserve servers, so we didn't really know how things were going to flesh out. Well, as it stands at this point, the servers have kind of shaken out, and some servers have started to take some identities, so I'll give you kind of a quick rundown of how things are going. Fairlina ended up being the server that all the streamers chose to go to. Now, the pros, if you're looking to go Fairlina, is that you're always going to have a pretty good community there. In terms of streamer-run events, if you want to be a part of those, you have to be on Fairlina because there is no cross-server play. You know that there's probably going to be a decent population as the streamers will keep interest in those servers going long-term. So if those are the kinds of things that you're looking for in your gameplay, Fairlina is definitely a great place to go. But bear in mind at this point that it is a very full server, so if you haven't already reserved a name, you may be looking at queue times, or you may not be able to get the name you want. Now, the cons to that server are, yet again, that it is very high pop, that there's a lot of interest in there, and if you're not looking to be a part of any of those streamer events, world PvP, things of that nature, then you probably want to avoid that server altogether. Now, there is also the concern that people have expressed that streamers bring with them their viewers, and some of the viewers are a little more toxic than others. I don't think that'll be as big of a deal, but there certainly is the possibility that some Asmonspurg will be in one of your pug groups, see a BOE drop, like a World Epic or something like that, ninja loot it, yell for Asmongold, hearth out, and then give it to him in the mailbox hoping to get his name on stream. The possibility exists, but again, I think that those fears are a little bit over-exaggerated. Moving along in servers, there's Herod, or Herod, or however you say it, and that's kind of turned into the designated Reddit server. Those are the people that absolutely, positively want to avoid streamers at all costs and are quote-unquote looking to capture the classic experience. As a result, it has ended up being the highest population server. Now, the pros are you are not going to get streamers there, as they've been made very clear that they don't want streamers on their server. However, Blizzard has said that Herod's currently looking at potentially upwards of 10,000 person queues on launch day. Which means that, you log in, you want to play, you've designated Herod as your server, you may not be able to get to play for hours. So that is a definite con to look out for, and there's certainly been a bit of Reddit elitist toxicity already kind of revolving around that server. So tread softly if you're looking to go there, but it is a server that exists, and there's definitely going to be a lot of people there, so it's probably going to stay highly populated for the long run. Now, Thalnos, I believe is how it's said, is kind of the unofficial Azralan Ragnaros Latin America safe haven. As Blizzard did not designate any Latin-speaking servers for Classic, the people that speak things other than English in NA have basically come together and they've said, hey, we want to put our Spanish-speaking, Portuguese-speaking people together so that they have a higher probability of communications and whatnot, and they've designated Thalnos as kind of their safe haven. So if you don't like playing with Ragnaros players, Azralan players for whatever reason, or you simply don't speak Spanish or Portuguese and want to be able to communicate with all the people that you're playing with, then you may want to avoid Thalnos. On the flip side, if you do speak Spanish, if you do speak Portuguese, if you do enjoy those servers, if you come from those servers, or if you're part of that part of the world, then that's the place you want to be, because that's going to give you the highest probability of people you can communicate with evenly, share common bonds and things of that nature. So take it or leave it, good or bad, that's kind of the way that server's shaken out. Now, the other servers, the Pacific servers that were announced originally, Whitemane and Fairbanks. Whitemane filled up really quick. The 4chan followers that love their lewd Whitemane photos went there really quick. As a result, it's very high pop. I believe it's full at this point in time. So if you're looking for a high pop or full server, Whitemane may be a good place to go. But again, you run risks of potentially high queue times come launch. Fairbanks was the other original server. There's not really a lot of drama. It's just kind of the other server out of all the original servers. It's listed as high pop right now. And that's where we were originally planning to go, as it has a lot of people on it, but there's not any personalities necessarily. So I think it's going to be one of the ones that potentially gives you a more realistic classic experience. Now, in the wake of the incredible high demand of those, Blizzard has rolled out 2 new additions in terms of servers. So originally they added Stalag, which is another Eastern PvP server. That one quickly filled to a high pop server as they were trying to pull people from Herod. So I don't know much about that server other than to say that it's another PvP server. I'm assuming there aren't going to be many streamers there as they're all sticking to Fairlina. And it's an Eastern time zone, so if that's your thing. And then today, they recently announced 2 more servers, yet another Eastern time zone PvP, Scarum, I believe is how it's pronounced, and a West Coast server being added, Blemu, I don't know how to say it, some French name, but it's one of the 4 horsemen from Naxxramas. And it's a Pacific time, so a West Coast PvP server. So if you haven't rolled a guild, you haven't designated anything, you might want to look at some of these new servers, as there are potentially high queues in the previously named servers. But if you've already found a server and you've decided on something and you've got a community going, good for you. Final recap from the first episode where we spent a lot of time is add-ons. I would say that there are more and more add-ons being added every day. A lot of people got in on the stress test, so I've seen stuff popping up as developers had a chance to kind of test out some of their tech, and they're uploading things and getting stuff going now. So if there's something that wasn't mentioned or something you hadn't seen before that you like in retail or you remember from vanilla, take a look back at those websites. Willet Classic, the Warcraft Tavern, Curse Forged, and I think there's a few others that to see if your favorite add-ons have been added in, because as I continue to expect that to grow as the launch hits or whatever, just keep an eye out there and things will pop up. So into the new stuff. Now that you've picked a server, the things you want to do is, if you've already got a guild, then this probably isn't super important for you, but I would highly recommend getting a guild. If you're looking to do any sort of endgame raiding, it requires 40-man raid teams for Molten Core Blackwing Lair. So you're going to need a community of sorts, because it's pretty difficult to get into consistent pugs that are doing that kind of stuff, as they're attunements required. Gear is limited, so bringing in randos isn't necessarily the thing that a lot of people like to do, is they like to designate gear and things of that nature. So I would highly recommend finding a guild. And again, that'll make leveling, questing, dungeon grinds, raiding, all that stuff easier, as there is no pre-made group finder in Classic WoW. Other stuff that I would consider is, once you've decided your race and class, like we talked about, which you have to do obviously before you reserve a name, I would start researching, because Classic is very different than retail. So get an eye out there on the class resources and things of that nature. Start looking at leveling routes, start looking at professions and all that stuff. So we'll kind of dive in here a little bit deeper and talk about some of the resources that are available to you to do such a thing. So first of all, once you picked your server, I would recommend, if you don't have a guild, getting involved in some of the community threads for that particular server. So in the case of Fairbanks, which is where we were looking originally, and like I said, we may be switching over, but Fairbanks is where I've been spending all my time. I found their Discord. A link will be in the description below. And I think most of the servers are set up the same way, or the Discord servers are set up the same way for the various WoW servers, where you'll go in, you'll find your role assignments type thing. You'll just click on whichever of the appropriate little like emote things, and then that will key into the bot and give you access to the appropriate channels on the left-hand side. So in this case, I'm going to pay a mage, but I always have Warlock in a back pocket, and then I chose Alliance. And then that gives me access to a bunch of other stuff. So you got recruitment threads for different guilds between casual, semi-hardcore, and hardcore. So depending on what you're looking for, you can go direct to the thread, see the guild descriptions, and a lot of them include links directly to their Discords. And then the class stuff, there's a handful of conversations taking place within the classes, so you can kind of get a feel for what's going on there. Other sources that exist to you in terms of looking for guild door or home or things of that nature, start taking a look at the Reddits. Fairbanks has a Reddit, link will be in the description below. It's not super fleshed out, but there is some feeds in there with regards to guild recruitment, things of that nature, community events being set up. I know Fairlina, the streamers, have been very active in trying to get their Reddit community, their Discord, and things of that nature going. So I would definitely take a look at those resources as you're trying to learn people, because again, remember, in Classic WoW, unlike retail, you are locked to a server. And yes, layering is a thing initially, but assume that goes away fairly quickly, and think of the world as one server that you'll be interacting with at any given point in time. So the people on your server are the only people you'll see. You'll be seeing them fairly routinely. You'll be running into them. People start making a name for themselves. Guilds will be making a name for themselves with regards to, server first Molten Core clears, server first Thunder Furies, things of that nature, people pushing through, who's getting world bosses and all that jazz. So getting to know those people, getting to, figure out what's going on, getting involved in understanding what's going on in those regards is definitely worth your time. So I would recommend investing some effort into kind of starting to learn your community. Now, above and beyond the community, you're going to have to play something, right? So we talked about starting to get to know your class. Something I would look at is taking a look at the individual class discords. There are classic discords for all this stuff, and a great resource to find a lot of this stuff is if you go to just the simple classic WoW discord. Now, the classic WoW discord has a handful of resources on it. They've got a handful of rules. I'll put a link in the description below for it as well. But if you go into any of the individual class text channels or whatever, I believe all of them, if you go to the pinned items, those classes will then give you a link to a class-specific Discord that has a whole bunch of useful resources. So in my case, we're going to look at Mage. There's a Mage Discord, and I joined that. So we go on over there. Infra, I believe, is the one that's running a lot of the stuff on the classic Mage Discord. I think this Discord's existed for a while from the private server community, and then carrying over into Classic, but it has a ton of really, really good mage information. So if you're looking to play mage, I would highly recommend getting in on this Discord and taking a look around. There's a set of rules. He's got some stuff for just updates with regards to Classic and Wowhead, a handful of other resources. In the case of the mage Discord, you can see that there were links to other classes, so if you're looking to multi-class and all that stuff, just sharing of information. But one of the things that I found the most useful is Infra's put together a spreadsheet, which I'll also include the link for that, a Google Doc that has just insane amounts of knowledge with regard to mage play. So if you're looking to min-max, if you're really looking to learn, if you're looking, like if you didn't play in Classic or if you're switching. So in my case, I played a Warlock in Classic and I haven't played private servers since. So my memory of Classic is fairly limited and my knowledge of Mage is effectively non-existent. So what I've been doing is a ton of research going in here. So this Mage spreadsheet has been super useful as it gives breakdowns of the different phases. It gives the leveling spells, so like what stuff you want and what you don't, so you can save gold, when you can get it, when you should go out. There's individual damage breakdowns for all the different ranks of the spells, so you can figure out what's the most efficient there. He's got talent builds for leveling for different raids. There's dungeon guides with regards to where the quests are, what the quest rewards are for the dungeons, so if you're going to include that in your leveling route. There's consumables, there's pre-bis lists, there's raid bis lists, there's just all kinds of really good information in there, and I would highly, highly recommend if you're looking to play Mage, taking a look at that, but that's not unique to the Mage community. There's a lot of very die-hard Classic players that have been playing on the private server, and so I would assume that there are similar resources available for any of the classes out there. So dive in there, take a look, figure that stuff out if you're looking to enhance your knowledge of whatever it is you're going to play. Now, above and beyond that, there's other resources you can take some time at. Wowhead has a classic WoW version of it that took a lot of the data from Thoughtbot back in the day, if you're a vanilla player. And they have a handful of guides that are quite useful in there as well. So take a look at Wowhead, link in the description below for that as well. But they've got leveling loadouts. They've got recommendations for race class combos. They've got all kinds of stuff. They've got professions. Take a look there. Now, other stuff, we're talking about leveling. Joanne's World. Joanne, I believe, is the current world record holder for the fastest leveling time on a retail server. So there have been faster times since on private servers, but since private servers were not able to directly replicate the way the Blizzard servers play, I think once TBC came out, basically Joanne was the fastest time in the world, and that's stuck. I believe he's been updating his guides with private servers in mind, some TBC content, and then now especially with beta access and stuff has been trying to update routes, but he's got routes for Horde and Alliance for all three starting zones for the respective factions and stuff like that. So if you're looking to put together a leveling route, lots of great insight there in terms of the way you can go through it. Now keep in mind that those world record times were not done on fresh servers where there was heavy competition for tagging quest mobs, for, killing named mobs, things of that nature. So if you follow his route, bit by bit for every single quest, you're likely going to be standing in lines or fighting over tags. So you'll probably need to adapt things if you're looking to be the most efficient, but it at least gives you a good idea in terms of pacing for zones, where you should be before going places, when it's worth going back and training new stuff. So definitely take a look at that. There are other guides out there, but Joanne's has kind of been the definitive guide for a lot of people for a very long time. So take a look. Link in the description below if I haven't already said so. Other stuff that's worth taking a look at is professions. So thinking about what you're going to be doing for professions. Now, it does slow you down if you're going to be trying to push professions simultaneously with leveling. However, endgame, you will have a leg up on people that are looking to go back and catch up. So some things, fishing, cooking, first aid, there's some good guides out there. So here's one that I found that I've used through beta for cooking. Put a link in there, description below. There's also guides for the major professions, so tailoring, enchanting, alchemy, things of that nature, for legacywow.com. All that stuff should still apply, as they were guides that were relevant in vanilla, and I don't believe anything's changed in terms of the way the professions run. So take a look there and kind of plan that stuff out. But that's kind of the end of where we're at here, trying to keep this short and simple, just talking about some stuff that I've been doing since. But I've basically been just trying to put research in to be as prepared as I can be, so that instead of during the leveling process, I find myself looking a bunch of stuff up and trying to figure out, where is a quest? Where am I going to go? What do I want to do next? I've got some of that knowledge in place before jumping in. That way I can speed things up and get through, because as has been said on Esfon's channel and before, when it comes to leveling, if you're looking to be one of the premier people on your server, being fast makes you faster, because you get ahead of the crowd, and so that means that there's less competition for tagging mobs, named mobs. If you're looking to do AoE farms, there's going to be less people out there doing stuff like that. So if you've got an idea of that initial run, where things are, what you're looking to do, you can kind of get ahead of the vast majority of players, and that'll streamline your leveling experience immensely. If, however, you are new to Classic, I would encourage you maybe to disregard a lot of this and simply play the game. Read the quests, figure out where things are, because this is a unique experience. Classic WoW plays very different than retail WoW, and part of the charm, I would say, for Classic is that you can immerse yourself in the world and kind of get lost in what's going on. So if you've never played through these expansions before and you're looking at a guide, definitely feel free to read up and be prepared and know what's going on, but you don't necessarily have to rush everything, because this is going to be a new experience. And if it's something that you haven't done before, the first time I played, I didn't know what Thoughtbot was, I think, until level 55. And I barely had any clue what was going on. I was clicking my spells and things back then. So things have changed a lot since then and now, but I still remember Classic, or Vanilla in this case, very, very fondly. So if this is your first time going in there, I just encourage you to take your time and enjoy the game, because it is a game and it's very fun. But definitely finding a guild is worthwhile, and that's where some of those casual guilds can be great for you, because if you're not looking to kill Ragnaros in the first month, first week, you don't need to join a hardcore guild. Find a casual leveling guild. Find some friends. Go through. Do all the different dungeons so that you can experience some real time. Go through and do a bunch of quests. Level with people. Get to know people, because that's part of the charm of Classic, is the community. The game is great. The infrastructure is great. The stuff that exists around it is really fun. But really what sets Classic aside from a lot of the other games, and quite frankly from the other versions of Warcraft, is the community that was evolved around it. So enjoy that, embrace that. I wish you the very best of luck as you step into Azeroth and experience this. Hopefully you found this guide useful. If you did, please consider giving my channel a subscribe. It really, really helps me out. If you like this video, definitely like it. That's super helpful for me as I'm trying to grow my name, my brand, my channel. And if you've got questions, comments, concerns, things you want to talk about, things that you think I missed or whatever, throw it in the comments below. Let's get a discussion going, and maybe I'll put out another video before Classic Launch comes out with more stuff to do ahead of time. But if not, hope you're having a great day. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for staying till the end. And yet again, cheers.